very much looking forward to seeing Trish versus Jess in Top Cut Finals here. Our final match of the day, going to be an absolute slammer of a match as these two duke it out in finals. We'll have to go ahead and see how this final story turns out, how this narrative that's built throughout the entire day between SunseedJess and Trishula TTV will end.
Let's go ahead and get it. We have Jess starting off with a rabbit. Not to be met with the PTA this time. I'm going to go ahead and start it off, and it all comes down to this right here. First play is going to be
this changes everything.
Iconic cards. This changes everything. See how it goes.
It'll be very interesting to see what Trish's opener looks like here. You know, it's the height at which his camera is at, his hand is bleeding like crazy. We can see almost every card in there as he shuffles through. He's giving perfect hand information to Jess, frankly. And so it's going to be very interesting to see what she goes for. The Swolax glasses have to come on here. You'll see what's going on. It looks like this Elechick will resolve here. Looking for whatever divine Trishula might be going for here. This is how we find out. We look through the deck. It looks like this is an Earth Variant. I see Mudlets. There's an Equilynx right next to the Demeter as well. We are in an Earth Mirror.
Man, this is going to be such an interesting start. Immediate aggression from Trishula trying to crack the board with the rabbit, or potentially take the extra counter into the back there. I do think that this is ultimately a really strong play to start off and just kind of put Jess on pressure, saying, you know, if you're going to set one back row, it better be the back row, and I want you to have these answers. And it looks like Rabbit's going to go down, and Trish here on a board of the Elechick, Demeter, and a set card. Potential follow-up. I think we saw the bleed in the hand, potentially an Equilynx. And there's a Viscerus coming down. Second turn Viscerus, saying, if you're going to put me on a clock, try to threaten you a little bit. He's gonna come in.
Just an immediate swing. Yeah, Viscerus swing. No, nothing to set. Altar of Stars is gonna come out. Nexus off of the Demeter, likely over to the Elechick, and just swap that Viscerus to defense position. Jess potentially fine to let the Astrabbit go, knowing that the back row is much more critical for protecting the Viscerus here. Seeing that Trish set a back row, potentially just wanting to play it out just like this, but the Equilynx comes down. Is that a PTA that Jess is going to be chaining here is a very important question. Absolutely. And it is. It is a PTA.
You know, and if you're Jess, you don't really feel too bad about that. Jess can have an open board, potentially drop another Viscerus and another counter rune. We've seen Jess play very patiently for so long. Equilynx is going to be on the board here to Nexus and try to save the spirits for Demeter. Swinging for a little bit of damage here and crack that Viscerus. It's an open board for Trish, and let's see how Jess can respond here on only a Demeter and an Elechick.
She has maybe another Viscerus in hand, could be quite killer here. And that's exactly what we're going to see. This Viscerus is going to connect. There is no back row to protect this Elechick. We are special casting our second Viscerus from deck. That back row could be critical here. There's something like a Tsunami would be massive in protecting these Viscerus to make sure that Trishula is not able to stabilize a board state here.
You definitely need the second one. You need a Cryoblast. You need an Earthquake even to help combat this board, because now Jess is up in tempo. That back row could be a shield, it could be a Gorgons, anything to help bat here. And it looks like an Equilynx coming down from Trish, potentially try to crack that back row.
Trish really is bleeding the entire hand here. Not a single doubt about what is in there. And it never resolves. Shield of Achilles by the Viscera, setting a card on Trishula's side. And likely going to just go ahead and swing over this defense position's Viscerus.
I think that hopefully Jess is able to have something that can combat this Equilynx and break apart the back row, because if not, she's in for a world of hurt with the hand that you have. You know, we're talking about the perfect mulligan there, and this is probably close to it. This is still quite there, but still anyone's game here. Jess is going to go ahead and draw for turn after the Viscerus goes down.
Look, if I had a nickel for every time someone got a championship off of bleeding their entire hand the entire game, I've had a lot, because Josh, that's all he does all game. But I don't know if it's ever been as blatant as Trish. However, Jess going to play the Resting on Your Laurels, an incredible option here. Popping this Equilynx, incredible play here. Outing two whole spirits from Trishula's board, and question is what Elestrals she's going to play out, and that's going to be a Galaxy. That's incredible.
Galaxy. You know, we know this a little bit from the Blood Hand from Trish. We know that there is that Eddy there, which is now being validated by the Galaxy, which so it's any hope for trying to crack it back with that Eddy, potentially as an offensive threat. Galaxy there is answering that question. So amazing counterplay from Jess. While we are seeing it in the entirety of Trish's hands here, those aren't cards. So that's a game he's got in his hands.
Absolutely. Be interesting to see what he draws for turn here. Looks like Viscerus is going to come down here, a very threatening piece into this Galaxy. No back row. Viscerus will connect here and cast out another Viscerus, and that back row is likely very live here.
Absolutely.
Very actually, Trishula going to out the Galaxy, taking out Demeter to play around Lavalith potentially. I think that's got to be what he's going for here. Is wants to play around Lavalith, so using the Demeter unnecessarily to out the Galaxy here and put himself down to only 2 spirits on board to prevent Lavalith on the crackback.
Sometimes be a little bit complicated if you're trying to help clear the board here. And Equilink's coming down from Jess. This is now Jessica's turn to break apart the board, and now Trish's shield is never resolving. I'm sure of it.
Trish,
absolutely.
You really should zoom in his camera a little bit.
No, well, we'll
as we see the entire hand.
We'll do the line, we'll say we spoke into existence. We'll do it was foretold.
It was foretold by the ancient scrolls.
We'll do El Clasico here, just for a little bit of goof and gaff in the final round. Jess down here to 8 spirits on the 2 Demeter. A lot of spirits on board, and Equilink is going to Nexus, and it looks like that might be the case. Equilink does get really good advantage more at 6 around, type of cards that cannot resolve. And oh my god,
it never resolves.
It never resolves. It was foretold. Yada yada.
It was foretold.
There we go. I'm gonna go ahead and boost up the Viscerus to also potentially play around Lavalith of some sort. I'm going to steal that.
Prevents a crash here as well, which is pretty critical for keeping these Elestrals on board.
Yeah, now that
taking Trish down.
This board is now easily broken, and Trishula has to see a card off the top. Anything powerful. Ambrosia should be able to keep back the game, and 2 Ambrosia.
A second one is pretty crazy.
Talk about it all day, but Jess eats these boards for breakfast, and it's always
Eddy is going to be very, very important here.
The Aqualinks, now that your back row can technically be set, going to go for...
Equalinks goes down. That's massive. This Viscerus will be able to take out the Eddy here, but I don't think Trishula cares too much.
But we'll see with Elichik coming down, could grab an extra Demeter. This would be great value. But Jess now has a hard decision to cast the extra Viscerus to go down to 6 spirits and potentially to be burning for a little bit more, and risking the Viscerus going down. It's just going to swing in on the Eddy here.
And the Elichik connected for 1 looks like we're not going to be proccing that Viscerus effect, putting Trish down to 5 spirits left in Spirit Deck, which will be pretty critical here. Jess having the 1 set back row also complicates things and makes it a little bit more difficult to play into this. And it looks like the Elichik will be running out here to search out Demeter most likely, and that will resolve, so that is not a Gorgon's Gaze in the back line. But it looks like, search is fine. We're going to Ambrosia here, heal back up to 6 spirits in Spirit Deck. And, this is a very solid stabilizing move from Trish here. And second Ambrosia would certainly help out a lot to be able to stabilize even further. But at this point in time, no need to reveal unnecessary information. If he has that, they're equal in spirits and Spirit Deck, and the Demeter is going to come down to go ahead and buff up this Elichik, likely to take out the Viscerus to prevent any crackback. The question is, what is that back row for Jess? Is it live? Is it a Shield of Achilles, which would likely be the only thing that hasn't been used yet that could still yet to be used? We'll see what he goes for. Just going to go ahead and swing the Elichik, likely into Viscerus here to try and clear out this board, force a crash on Elichik, or a commit into Demeter for Jess herself. We'll see if that back row is live, considering her options, looking at that back row. Looks like it's getting flipped up. It is a Shield of Achilles.
It's a Shield of Achilles. It's crazy here, our big running joke about it not resolving, but Jess seemingly finding the perfect moment to not only have Shield of Achilles, but also when to use it. And maybe is kind of kicking a little bit for not activating the second Ambrosia to get 1 more turn. Going to Thunder Enchant the Elichik. No Unclith coming down. It's sometimes hard to see.
A little jump scare there.
I mean, jump scare
heart
crazy.
For a second.
But go ahead and swing in for 3 here. Nice and simple damage. This is still a force to be reckoned with. The 5 body stat in a simplified game state like this is nothing to be played with. Looks like we
Gorgon's
have...
Gaze per turn is pretty critical there.
Absolutely. We have just enough for an Celestial cast and that Gorgon's Gaze, potentially even off the Demeter if we choose.
Yeah.
Which
likely would be the option to go for. Want to make sure that there's diverse options here to get any potential Elestral or card activation generally that he's looking for. The Mudlet going to go ahead and come on out and setting a card, swapping the Elechick to defense position. An interesting decision as opposed to swapping the Viscerus, but getting the Spirits off board is likely the higher priority here. This Demeter can help the Mudlet to out the Viscerus on a later turn. To out this Viscerus, so it's really down to what does Jess have in hand here, and it's an Eddy. That is brutal here.
Eddy is so difficult because I think that's going to be just clearing the board and might just be game. I think we saw the Astro Rabbit inside of the hand for Trish. That would have been an excellent follow-up to try to just dig back into more tools and get back into this game. But the one set back row of Viscerus try to swing in.
By weighing his options of what's the probability that he goes for something like Astro Rabbit, sees the Ambrosia off the top, and the Water's gonna be the one that goes. Draws for turn. Does he see what he needs here? 2 cards in hand. Was it the Destiny draw he needed to see? Believing in his deck to perform exactly how he needs it to, when he needs it, considering this card in hand. It's an Elechick. That's...
For the Elechick.
It's not nothing.
Elechick to try and... Crash can go into a game 2 here.
Scoop.
Trying to go for a scoop. Elechick into scoop for this combination here. Jess taking game 1 and on match point of this historic run for the newcomer here. Starting off strong will be important, and I think as far as we can see, this matchup is predetermined by how these starts usually go. And an Elechick start is a pretty strong one, grabbing that Demeter.
Phenomenal.
Trish getting access to that early and uncontested is going to be interesting to watch.
Very curious to see what Jess goes for. Viscerus early could be absolutely killer here, and that's exactly what she's going to go for.
As just the scrolls foretold.
As the ancient scrolls foretold. Viscerus is absolutely killer here, setting a back row, swinging in, getting the effect to go ahead and special cast out a second Viscerus from the deck in defense position. But Trish might not care too much about this. A Laurels that can take out the attack position Viscerus and then attempt to swing over with something like an Eddy or something like that. An Equilinx is a massive opportunity here. If that set is anything but Gorgon's Gaze, this is going to be an incredible turn from Trish, who will be able to take a good bit of board advantage here. And now the question is, did he intentionally set nothing there, or does he have 0 back row cards in his hand? Equilinx is going to Nexus.
I think that was definitely a strategic play to not lose out on value to an Equilinx. You want to make sure that your next turn is secure, and having the Elechick set a card, Equilinx comes in and pops a card. That doesn't feel too good, and that's a known factor here. But an Altar Stars coming down from Jess on the attack of an Equilinx. Now we're going to see kind of some bread and butter for Earth. This is a very interesting combo, attacking into the defense position, Viscerus, I imagine. So if the combo's working here...
I believe he was going for a Nexus here to pop the back row.
Oh, that's
Jess
right.
is just going to go ahead and chain it to swap the position, which gets the same result as if he had just attacked anyway.
I'm getting ahead of myself. I was looking forward
you're getting so excited.
to this play. We haven't seen it on the cast yet. This very interesting play you can make with Altar of Stars as like a battle trick inside of the game of Elestrals that I'm always excited to see. Looks like you're just going to go ahead and Nexus from the defense Vis into the attack Vis, change that Equilinx to defense, and that chainable counter rune is going to be huge.
This is brutal. This is potentially devastating to not have any way of protecting this Equilinx.
And an Equilinx
of her own with the Spirit on board already. Absolutely masterfully planned from Jess. We'll go ahead and Nexus and pop this Demeter. This is devastating.
And go for Viscerus, trying to punch in, destroy the Equilinx Viscerus effect to cast out another Viscerus, and 2 damage direct with this Equilinx. It's again breaking boards and breaking hearts here. Jess is putting on a clinic. I'm very curious to know how this next turn is going to go for Trish.
Yeah, this will be very make or break from Trish, I think. Something like a Cryoblast could be really, really critical for taking advantage of this board state. Just Earthquake. You know, it's not too dissimilar to Cryoblast. It's a little bit more expensive here and limited to 1. But this will be a way of taking out this Equilinx and preventing Jess from getting any more advantage from popping these face downs that Trish is wanting to set. Would love to see a Viscerus here. Mudlet
coming down
is going to be an awesome option here to swing over that very small defense Viscerus at only 2 defense. Effect to swap doesn't matter too much here since we already have a defense position 1, but maybe it means he can take out the full art. Maybe he doesn't want the shiny one on field, wants the common to stick around. So he can choose whatever his favorite Elestral
looks
is
like it's the full art. You're absolutely correct.
Leaving the TP common on there.
I think what's so risky here about this Mudlet, and of course I don't think we'll see another Viscerus come down from Jess. I think we saw the other one be cleared by the altar and then this one get cast out. But a rabbit coming in and attack Rabbit's never a good sign. Now the Viscerus is going to be hit over, and now you can put Trish on a tempo, and this can dig Jess into more counter runes that we have not seen come down this game to potentially secure a victory and a 2-0 here. It's looking pretty slick here for Jess, setting 2 back row here, and once again not playing around Gloombat. I cannot phrase that enough. I'm going to swing into the Mudlet and 1 for Rabbit correctly.
And we said the last turn was critical. Every single turn here is critical, really. Jess can absolutely take so much tempo. If that's a shield, Jess can take so much tempo. Eddie going to be an incredible option here to force out some interaction potentially and take out this Viscerus if Jess doesn't have anything to prevent it.
Absolute just domination here, I think, from this. I think Eddie is going to change the Viscerus to defense. Setting one back row, there's a little bit of defense from Trish coming down. You got to imagine that back row could be a Shield of Achilles, which is potentially the hesitation on setting, not wanting the extra Eklings to come down to threaten that. And if we can see an Eklings from Jess, this is going to be the biggest brain plays. But a Gorgon's Gaze coming in from Jess on the Eddie to stop the attack. It's so interesting that a lot of people would say, well, why don't you Gorgon's Gaze on the effect? Well, in a lot of cases like this with Eddie, you're trying to bait further interaction into the battle phase.
This is, I believe, a sort of water-focused Earth matchup. I don't know if exactly Trish is on the Earth-Water tempo list, but it very well looks like it, and being able to miss out on those really critical Thunder cards can be very devastating here. Is Jess taking full advantage of those Thunder cards, re-enchanting the Ass Rabbit, choosing her favorite card from the top 3 of her deck, hoping for him that is a Shield of Achilles. Otherwise, this might kind of be the moment in the game where Jess runs away with it and is crowned our champion.
Yeah, this is a big turning point of this clash, and the Viscerus is going to swing in here. Is going to be anything. It's a Gorgon's Gaze to stop the Viscerus. Trying to stop the bleeding here for just one more turn, considering what to use for this Gorgon's Gaze. Trish is going to use a Thunder and an Earth Spirit. And again, it's not unlikely that Trish can come back from this position. That speaks volumes to it. Elechick is potentially a good start, if you have a Demeter in the back, and then you can use a Echolinx to help break apart the board. Maybe this Elechick hits out a Gorgon's Gaze. It's a good start. I think using the Spirit off the Rabbit and 1 from Spirit deck, Jess is looking to stop stone cold this Elechick in its tracks from searching.
And she's going to outright kill off this Ass Rabbit using all the spirits from it for the Gorgon's Gaze, knowing that it's going to get attacked over anyway. A very, very heads-up play from her. Doesn't matter if this Ass Rabbit dies. It's going anyway. Let's use all the spirits off of it and prevent that Demeter search. What a wonderful player. And an Eddie of her own. This is just a brutal game for Trishula here. Every single step he makes, Jess is right there ready to counter it. And Trish going to take both of his Elestrals and send them right to the underworld.
The start of this game, as the Viscerus comes down from Trishula, was filled of just Elestrals on Elestrals action. And a Poison Totero on this Viscerus. This was probably the last saving grace from Trishula to out and mount this comeback. But with 4 spirits left, Trishula better have some back row, some Ambrosia. It's going to pass back to Jess. Just going to pay out for that PTA, paying dividends. 3 spirits left from Trish. A re-enchant here would be absolutely lights out. We have a Thunder enchant on the Viscerus coming down.
I was very curious that Trish did not attempt to crash the Viscerus into the Eddie, as it was at 4 attack because there are 2 Viscerus on board.
I'm curious to think
unless
that
it was misenchanted, but I didn't see that.
I think that would probably be just a little bit of fodder there. Going to draw for a turn after taking 3 spirits of damage. 1 spirit left from Trishula. Do we see an Ambrosia come down to add a little bit of life? It's going to be Moss Station, the final spirit.
It's something.
Setting a card face down might be futile. Gonna go ahead and swing in with the Moss onto this Viscerus. Viscerus goes down, Moss to defense, and this Eddie is about to eat up the tiny legs of this crab with a Mount Olympus enchant. It's going to be a race to the top. That's going to be race to the top coming down there from Jess. Absolute domination, showcasing what the rest of the hand was, and y'all, that is game.
That's it.
That is the 2-0 from SunseedJess to become the new Elestrals champion of the largest webcam tournament in the world for Elestrals so far.
And we are here. We're back to interview our brand new premier event champion, SunseedJess. How do you feel? It's quite late for you, isn't it?
It's only like 2 a.m. It's fine. No, I feel good. Like, the event went almost as planned. Almost as planned.
Almost. You care to elaborate?
I built this deck with someone, and then I had to knock them out in top 8. If it was finals...
Devastating.
But,
I assume that was your top 8 match?
Yes, I was against Laura.
Unfortunate.
Like, we were just checking. We were checking the tiebreakers, just like, because after every result, the tiebreakers just change slightly. Just please don't be, please don't be 4th and 5th. Please don't be 4th and 5th. And then we were 4th and 5th.
It's friendly fire is inevitable in any Elestrals tournament if you have enough friends. So, but hey, it was great that both of you were able to at least make top 8. Congrats to them for making that far, and congrats to you for making it to finals and winning it all.
Yeah, the deck, we both played the same deck list, and the deck list was great. So,
yeah, would you care to talk a little bit about it? So, the production team has it listed as a water earth tempo list. You want to divulge on that a little bit?
Okay, that's not how I describe it.
Sure.
I just describe it as Earth Thunder Nexus.
Sure.
Because Earth Nexus is good, Thunder Nexus is good. This is just both of them in one deck.
So what are the critical pieces you're bringing over from Thunder that aren't already standard in Earthlock?
So instead of playing Floy Forest or anything, I'm playing we're playing 2 Mount Olympus, 2 Race to the Tops, and 2 Joltons in main.
Okay.
And we're still able to do all of the Altar of Stars onto Astrabbit to get extra searches. We're still able to do all the Race to the Top pops. We can misenchant Olympus as a Nexus bank for Equilinks.
Yeah.
The worst part, in my opinion, of Thunder Nexus was things like Toxion. So we just got rid of the bad bits of Thunder Nexus and got rid of the bad bits of Earth Nexus, like Mudlet, and just put the 2 best bits together. Yeah. And then sided the rest of the engines so that we could just play either deck.
That was my next question. So I assume you're siding things like Arcolith potentially, or?
Yep, Arcolith, Thunderstorms, even Quackles. Like, we could just play pure Thunder Nexus both sides.
That's incredible. I like that, being able to blindside potentially. Did you ever find it advantageous to side entirely into the Thunder stuff, or was Earth really the best part of it?
So we didn't actually side any extra Earth cards outside of Floy Forest, which is just something we sided against Thunder Nexus. Yeah. But in general, it came up occasionally against more like stally or slow matchups. For example, like being able to go Arclith as a big power piece was nice.
Yeah.
One of the big things that I think it's worth noting is a lot of Earth Nexus lists, more recently especially, and Thunder Nexus as well. We've seen in some of more recent webcam tournaments. We're playing the 2 Galaxy 2 Eddie. So we just played that package and it fit both decks anyway. So the deck was just all the most versatile bits in the game in one deck.
Yeah, doing 3 different matches of yours casted, it seemed to me like Galaxy may have overperformed massively for you, because there were multiple moments where I could tell that one of your opponents had 1 or 2 Eddie in hand, and all of a sudden it's dead because Galaxy's on board.
Oh yeah, because the usage of Eddie has spiked, especially because of how good Earth Nexus, how popular Earth Nexus has become. Eddie usage has gone up, which means Galaxy just perform better and better. Especially since we're playing Joltons, which is another card that loses to Eddie. I think it was just really valuable to play Galaxy.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. The last little question I have for you here, wrap things up, is as a result of your performance here and showing off some of these interesting pieces, do you expect your performance here in this deck you've played to shake anything up, especially since we have a whole nother Premier Tournament in just under 2 weeks?
I think Thunder Nexus should be played a lot more. Like, the mesh of the two decks, it feels so much more versatile and so much more resilient. And also the hands just feel generally, on average, better, so you have to mulligan less than pure Earth Nexus. So I'd like to see a few other people just like trying out the hybrid, because it feels just too strong.
Yeah, swapping Toxion, which can be a very strong card, but it's only really good in the late game for something like Equilinx, which objectively has a better body and a better effect. Just certainly, I can see would make Thunder immediately a better deck.
So the original idea was just, oh, well, we can just play Equilinx, we can just swap Zeus for Demeter and just play 3 Equilinx in Thunder Nexus. That was the original idea, but because Demeter and Zeus kind of fulfill the same function, but it kind of just, oh, we can also play Viscerus. You drop the bad cards and just play the best of both decks.
Yeah, it's very interesting to see how some theory from even old tournaments have come back up, because Viscerus used to be a standard card in Thunder Nexus, but for some reason has fallen off quite a bit since the banning of Spark It. So just an incredible performance from you, an incredible deck list. Very cool to see something that really hasn't been seen a lot in the meshing of these two deck lists. Do you have anything you'd like to say before we sign off for the day?
I'd just like to again give a huge thanks to Laura for building the deck with me. Like, we've been sitting like on the floor down here for like a few hours every few days, just like ramming decks against each other to try and come up with new decks and lists that perform well. And yeah, huge thanks to her.
Yeah, that's incredible. Well, shout out to her and congrats to her as well for making top 8. And with that, I believe that's the end of the tournament. It's been a long day. I'll let you go so you can go to rest. It's very early for you at this point. But congrats once again. I believe that's the road of the show, everyone. Thank you for being here. Make sure to, don't forget, check out all the socials, subscribe to the channel, and make sure to check out the upcoming events between the webcam casuals and the premiere event on the 14th. All incredible stuff, incredible prizing. You can compete against wonderful competitors like Jess here. And yeah, thank you so much to the production team for putting on an incredible show. We'll see you hopefully on December 14th for the next webcam tournament.